Let me just start my timer real quick and let's go. What is going on, all you awesome superhero aficionados? This is the Heroes and Mutants podcast. I'm Nick with my co-hosts Jimmy, Eric, and Ruben. Whole gang here again. This is your number one source of superhero talk. So just make sure you guys, before you do anything, you hit that like button, you hit that subscribe, share with your friends, follow us on Instagram at Heroes and Mutants podcast. And obviously we're going to be trying to do like more raffles and giveaways in the future. And there's a lot of ways you guys can contribute to topics we have going on. We have Superhero Showdown, which is a conversation that we have, we're bringing in we're comparing different characters together, either from Marvel, DC, or from other just characters that are similar to each other, and having them duke it out and giving our analysis on who would win and why. So make sure you guys look out for that. You can participate in those kind of conversations, and let's get started today. So interesting news. John Watts, who directed the Spider-Man, all the Homecoming, he directed the 3 Spider-Man movies for MCU. He actually he was supposed to be the director of the Fantastic Four movie. He recently stepped down, citing superhero burnout, which is very obvious. I mean, I kind of wondered if that was going to be a thing, because I mean, he probably is going to be doing another, although we don't know for sure, but he's probably going to be doing another Spider-Man movie at least somewhere in the future. So I thought that was a good candidate for Fantastic Four, but it's understandable. Do you guys have anybody in mind to take over from him, or to take the helm, or does it even matter at this point, and as long as it's somebody who has a decent track record?
I think so long as it's somebody who had a decent track record. I'll be honest with you, if Sam Raimi weren't doing Doctor Strange and wasn't like part of this again, I probably would have said somebody like Sam Raimi, I'm being honest. But so long as they get somebody with a decent track record, and I get if he's burnt out on it, because that is a lot to do, especially if he's going to do another Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, because I mean, he did those 3 movies within the span of like 4 or 5 years. So non-stop. Obviously it's a lot. And then he was supposed to be doing Fantastic Four next, and that was going to be something that was going to have a lot of sequels, and that they were going to be mainstays of the MCU going forward. So it's understandable from that perspective for sure.
Yeah.
What about you, Eric?
I think it'd be okay. This is gonna be out there.
Ooh,
right?
I want to see what he's gonna say.
So I think I know.
So I know
what I'm gonna say.
Christopher Nolan's Fantastic Four.
No. When it comes to the Fantastic Four, I don't think we need origin story anymore. I just want like straight up action, and I think Justin Lin would be pretty cool to have for the Fantastic Four, especially since he just had an issue with Universal with Fast and Furious 10 or something.
I think 15 or 16, something like that.
Yeah, right. I think he just got dropped from their project, and he's done a lot of these movies, and he's a good action director, and that's what I would want to see from a Fantastic Four movie.
He got dropped from
they had
creative differences.
Yeah, creative differences. So family always has problems. Yeah. But I think ever since Brie Larson and I forget someone else got cast, supposedly that's when the issue started.
Okay.
But yeah, I think
so if Vin Diesel runs that whole thing, so whatever he says goes. Basically.
That's true. So he was just top of mind for me, just because I've been hearing recently about him, and I thought, hey, that'd be pretty cool to have him do a superhero movie and see how he does with something like this.
I feel you on that. Well, for me, I just to make a quick touch on I want to see if Fantastic Four does come out in Doctor Strange, and depending if Reed Richards does come out in it, and is John Krasinski, what's that say? Yeah, John Krasinski. Krasinski, yeah, Jim. Yeah, Jim, that's how I always know, man. Jim, man, in the office. So if John ends up for some reason being, Reed Richards in the movie, I wouldn't mind him being taken over as director for Fantastic Four, because he has actually made good movies. And if you want to talk about action movies, he made that one where he was in that base where they were at I forget what it was, but it was an action military kind of movie,
Benghazi?
I
mean, he was in it. I don't know if he directed that one.
Oh, he directed it? Well, I could see
the Quiet Place.
He did well in Quiet Place, yeah. All right.
One and two, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm saying he's a good actor. He's a good director. And I wouldn't mind him if he had a chance. They even had an interview with him. I don't know if it was during the Quiet Place 2 time or if it was a recent interview where like, you know, they brought it up. Hey, how would you feel if you, you know, Kevin hit you up and said, you know, like, you want to direct the movie for us? He's like, if that opportunity ever came, he's like, for sure, like, you know, we'll not bump heads. He's like, we'll join heads, you know, and see what we come up with. I was like, all right, well, I wouldn't mind that at all.
It'd be
That's a
interesting.
good one. That's a good one.
Pretty good director. So
That, and I think that was something I was thinking about too. I said, how crazy would it be if John Krasinski was cast as Mr. Fantastic, and then that opportunity came about to, like, they don't have a director? Would that be something just because that relationship is already established and he's a proven track record as far as somebody you wouldn't realize has that kind of talent, but is actually a very capable, competent director? So I'm wondering if that would ever be the case. Like,
his movies were actually like financially successful.
exactly.
Yeah, they have been.
I think he would be a good choice. But also, I didn't think about Justin Lin, but he had the funny thing about him is he was one of the first movies he had done, and this is probably his breakout, was Better Luck Tomorrow, which that actually starred Sung Kang. He played Han in the Fast and Furious movies. He actually played the character. It was supposed to be a somewhat of a continuation. It was never specifically stated, but it was meant to be a continuation of that character. So I actually really liked that movie and thought it was a great character study, and a lot of the acting and just the directing and a lot of that coming from him. That was really good. It's kind of funny now because he's known as like a big budget, big action, big movie design guy. So to go back to that kind of like knowing like, damn, this is where he started. That was actually probably one of my favorite movies from him. I not that I didn't like any of the other movies he had done. I mean, Fast, the one where with that had like they had like the tribute to Paul Walker. I thought that was probably one of the better ones in a long time, and the action was pretty decent. So I do think that he would also be somebody who would be definitely good replacement for Watts. But for me, it doesn't really matter. I just know they're going to find someone capable and somebody who has a good track record. So I think just with that going on, there's a lot of good choices, and there's going to hopefully this will be an opportunity for someone else. Like, I don't think James Gunn should do, like, even if he was available, I don't think he is, because it seems like he's going to be done with Marvel after Guardians 3. But it's will be a good chance to give someone another opportunity to come in with that fresh, unique vision, especially for such important characters like the Fantastic Four. So I definitely think that this is just going to be a great opportunity for them. So moving on from that to also pretty good news, I would say. I think everybody would say, honestly. But Batwoman is officially canceled, and Legends of Tomorrow actually recently got canceled. So Flash and Superman and Lois are the only Arrowverse shows that are, well, the only DC shows that are still going on the CW. And knowing that they've had pretty good success with Peacemaker, and they're also putting a lot of effort, and there's going to be more series that they're going to be doing on HBO Max. Do you see that fizzling out on the CW for the DC shows, or is that like they're going to always come out with something new? Obviously, this has been going on ever since they've done Smallville. So do you guys still see that continuing? Like they're going to just be coming out with more shows, or is it just going to officially convert all the way to streaming?
There's always going to be some DC stuff on the CW. It's ever since Smallville, it's part of the tradition of their programming. We got to have our teen soap opera crap, and we got to have our cheesy DC stuff. That's part of the deal. I haven't seen Superman and Lois, but I've heard good things about it, so I want to check that out. But I feel like that's so part of their brand is like cheesy soap opera-y DC shows.
Gotta appeal to those preteens.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, with Warner Brothers and Discovery and the merger, there's obviously it's gonna, a lot of the DC stuff's gonna be on HBO Max, but I don't see them giving that stuff up for CW.
Right. What about you, Eric?
I think, especially with that merger happening, I think they're probably gonna let this whole Arrowverse kind of fizzle out, and then start reintroducing shows and characters that are part of like the bigger picture that they've been talking about these last few weeks, right? Like they've been talking about getting all the movies in one place, like planning ahead, similar to what the MCU does. But because they have the CW at their disposal, they'd be able to kind of introduce characters in a more unique way and intertwine with whatever DC universe they're they're creating moving forward. I think it'd be pretty cool. I think the Arrowverse by itself was good. Like I really like the show Arrow. Flash started off really well, got kind of weird in the middle, and Arrow did too. But near the end, I mean, Flash is still going on solid right now. I think it still has some good shows, some good episodes. And I was a fan of Legends of Tomorrow. I just thought it was fun and quirky and made no sense whatsoever, but it was just a fun show to have on in the background. And especially me having kids, I think it was funny to just them randomly see like, oh look, there's a dinosaur on TV fighting superheroes, like, or the giant teddy bear stuffed animal thing, like, like seeing all those things happen, and it's just so random. I just thought it was very reminiscent of a lot of those comic books that aren't really like the popular comic books either. Like you have a lot of issues that didn't go anywhere, but they exist, and it's part of being a lover of the comic books too, right? Like you'll randomly buy comic book. I know, Ruben, you buy a lot of comic books. Like I'm sure you have issues, like super random issues that you're just like, I don't know why, but I really like this, and no one else does, right?
Yeah, true.
So,
very true.
Yeah, so it's gonna happen. So that's kind of how I felt about that show, and about just kind of the Arrowverse in general. There's a lot of seasons that a lot of people didn't like, but I was just kind of like, I'm invested in these characters. I think it's pretty cool. I'm not, because it's on CW, I'm not expecting it to be like at a high like quality. But even then, well, like you said, with the CW, because they have those rights to superheroes, and it's always gonna be. There's always going to be a show on there, right? That they're going to push to watch, even after Smallville. Like I remember seeing the one season of Birds of Prey, right? Like I remember seeing that season, the old season. I thought that was pretty cool, and when Arrow came out, I was super stoked. So just going forward, I like seeing new content. I think it's fun, and I'm sure they're just going to keep rolling it out because people are going to keep watching.
Most definitely.
Yeah. What do you think, Ruben?
As for me, yeah, I mean, it's like Jimmy and, Eric was saying, like, C-Dub, I think, is still going to be around. And if I'm not mistaken, I said earlier that The Flash, after this one, still has a confirmed other season, if I'm not mistaken. So with The Flash still having another season, they have time to come up with other stuff, new characters perhaps, or some sort of different storyline. And like Eric was saying, like the Flash is still going deep. I mean, they're going deep with this. They're like I said, it's cheesiness. We all agreed on that. It's cheesiness that has all this stuff. But with the Flash, it works with the Flash because he's one of those superheroes where he's actually pretty humble, and then he doesn't get too violent. I mean, there probably are some stuff where he could get violent with, but Ezra Miller might have messed that up moving forward. so now we just gotta wait and see what they do with the creativeness moving forward. Because DC with the merger and everything, DC has the opportunity to start from scratch again. And that's something they've been doing for the longest. But for certain characters, they already have it, like Wonder Woman, Aquaman. Like those are fine characters, and they still have a lot of potential in them. But we'll see what happens.
I feel like I've been hearing about DC starting from scratch for like over a decade now. I feel like DC starting from scratch. I'm like, I know I've been hearing that for about a decade.
We're like a broken record. Like like it happens every so often.
And it's funny you say that, Ruben, because I definitely feel the same way. Ever since Smallville, with the exception of from the time Smallville ended to when Arrow started, I think that was like a year. Because Smallville ended in 2010 and then Arrow started in 2012. From like 2000, 2001 up until now, there's been one DC show running at all times except for 1 year. So that you're talking about over 20 years that you have some form of DC content on the CW. And like that's exactly like Ruben and like you guys were saying, or I'm sorry, like Jimmy and all you guys are saying, that it's just part of their brand now, to where CW has DC shows or that shows about DC characters on it. And honestly, before, I would say I was really invested in the very beginning with Arrow. I was always on it, 3-4 seasons. And then over time, the writing really got to me, and this inclusion of Team Arrow, Team Flash, especially more so with someone like the Flash who doesn't need to operate with other people and I feel like every episode is like, I can't do it. Yes, you can, Barry. okay, I can do it. And I'm
Just
just
run
like,
faster.
Jesus Christ, like really? Like
Run, Barry,
that's all
run.
it took? I would like the interesting thing is there's like always one season that's really good. I would say the first season of Flash was really good.
Oh, yeah.
Especially that twist revealing with Thawne who he was. When the partner Thawne, when it was revealed who he was, I was like, oh, that for sure has to be Eobard Thawne or something. And then when it was revealed, it was actually Wells. I was like, oh my God, this is a great twist. So there was really good writing in there, and just I don't think I've watched an episode of Flash in like 5 or 6 years, just because all of that, the love triangles and the soap opera-y nature of the show really took me out of these characters that I grew to love, or just from knowing who these characters are from. Like, I always go back and watch the cartoons, or like Justice League, those iterations of that were on Cartoon Network, just because I feel like those are timeless. These, I feel like they're not rewatchable in that sense. So,
Like,
Mhm.
this is gonna sound like a weird comparison. I think a show like Doom Patrol, I mean, I could be off, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of stuff that they do on the CW in terms of like some of the issues that they tackle, but better. I don't
what's
know,
better?
right? But like a more refined version of what they attempt to do.
But do you think that's because obviously if it's on syndication and it's on regular cable like that, do you think it's because they have to cater to it being PG and the fact that they have more free roam and creative control to go a little bit darker, like with especially something like Doom Patrol, because those characters' origins and what they've been through necessitates a bit of a darker tone and a little bit, even though it's not dark, but at least what happens to them is very tragic. So I'm wondering, do you guys feel like maybe that's the reason why that we're kind of having these discussions, or things turn out the way they do with these shows and the formula and the way everything goes?
I think it does. I think it makes sense that because it's on cable and because they have like a higher maturity rating,
Censorship.
yeah, they can get away with more. But I agree with Jimmy where like something like Doom Patrol feels like it's using the same type of issues, because I thought the same thing about Titans, right? Like when it came to Titans, like Nightwing, like the pretty much the main guy on the show, he very much felt like Arrow to me, where he's like moody and he's putting together this team and he's like going on for revenge and all this stuff, like and the stuff he goes through is always like, I don't want to bring you in because I don't want to bring you into my dark side. It's like, this is Arrow all over again, except now they can cuss, they can get a little more dramatic and like what they're doing.
Yeah, because you gotta have a fuck Batman line and everywhere,
right?
You go.
Yeah, it's like a cooler version of what they're attempting to do on the CW. It kind of reminds me of that, but good. Like,
so also, I do hope that, but like I said, Superman and Lois, I've heard good things. Everyone has said, hey, you need to give this a watch. I haven't watched it yet. Maybe it's just because I have those doubts and those assumptions that whatever is tied to the Arrowverse is not going to be great in the long term. But I do need to give that a watch. I'm hoping that this is a point in time where they can rebrand and say, okay, we're going to start over. We're going to go completely to the Warner Brother Discovery, whatever that merger is going to be, whatever that streaming service is going to be. And we'll just figure things out and start over from there, because I think this will be a good opportunity to where they can capture another audience, or at least do something different and something unique, as opposed to what people know and what people are familiar with. I don't know if everybody will exactly be on board with it, but if it's a chance to do something different and tell better stories and just have better ratings overall for whatever they're doing, then I'm all for it. And I'm just over everything that's on the CW at this point, honestly.
That's fair.
That's how we do it with CW.
I thought you were. So interesting stuff to see what happens. And as far as we know right now, there hasn't been a new show that's been announced. So I do feel they're probably going to go that route, but waits to be seen. And we'll just report on it when it does. And
does the CW stand for Crip Walk?
Yes.
Nah,
possibly.
bro, come on now.
I thought it stood for currently watching or something, because that's like you're supposed to be currently watching, or what does it stand for, honestly?
Crip Walk.
But Oh my god. So moving on from that, we finally had our conclusion to Moon Knight. The season finale just dropped. Very surprising that it was only 44 minutes. I know we had that discussion last week where I was like, no, there's gonna be like one more episode also with this. Like there's gonna be 7. I so it was suffering from a Mandela effect because I totally thought it's at like 7 episodes, and I was like, no, hell, you know, you have those times where you think something is different in the past, like.
I think it should have been 7 episodes.
Or I thought this would have been like at least an hour at the bare minimum. But overall, what did you guys think of this episode? Did it wrap up the story good? And do you guys think there's going to be another season?
I'll be honest with you. I think that the finale was probably one of the weaker episodes of this, and I was a little let down. And I hope I'm not stirring up anything too much, but
I mean,
you're already stirring the pot.
I know.
A lot of it felt anticlimactic to me. It just felt like they were pushing so many things, and I was already alarmed when I started it, and then I saw the short runtime. I was like, "Oh God, this is like."
That was the shortest episode of the whole series.
Yeah. I really feel like it could have just been fleshed out more. I think the ending is fine, and I like what it represents in terms of Mark and Steven kind of like reconciling with each other, but it just felt like, I don't know, it didn't have that fully fleshed out feel that the past few episodes have been. I really feel like this was kind of a rush finale. I was a little disappointed, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, honestly, I definitely feel that same way, especially when you take into the fact that the episode, the whole runtime was 44 minutes. Yeah. But technically, you're cutting out like 4 or 5 minutes because that's all credits, and then this had an extended post-credit scene. So this was like a 38-minute season finale, which is freaking crazy. You're like, how the hell was this thing only? And it was very alarming because to me, I'm like, okay, he needs to find a way back to the real. He needs to find a way to get resurrected. They need to release Amit, and then like him, and then Harrow. And all them fighting each other. That all needs to happen in this episode. I'm like, the setup already is wonky, and it just, I already knew it was going to feel rushed, and it definitely was. So I definitely agree with that sentiment, Jimmy. What do you think, Eric?
I disagree with both of you.
Okay.
So, dude, how are you going to say it's anticlimactic? This is literally the climax of the entire show. Like, there was literally gods fighting at one level, and then you got Moon Knight over here fighting with Scarab and fighting Arthur. Yeah. Dude, it was so crazy, like, that it got to that point. I thought it was really cool. I had been waiting for this type of action the entire show, and like the way they did the whole. I don't think this was the episode where Mark and Steven reconciled. That was very much the previous episode. Yeah. Right, like it already reconciled, and Steven died.
The conclusion that they come to at the end, where they kind of reject. I mean, like where they reject that other, well, not the reality, but the imposed reality that they were being put on the mental hospital.
Yes, yeah.
Well, I mean, I agree with you too, Jimmy, in that sense, because obviously Mark chose to go back to him to let him know he was not alone. So I agree from that.
I just think
too, for sure.
I would have liked this to been like 20 minutes longer. It just felt like it was happening.
What would you have added in those 20 minutes?
I don't know. I'm not the creator of the show. I just think it could have been a little.
Because I trust the creators. I think 20 minutes would have been too long. I think all we got was action, and that's what I had wanted. And they're like, all I wanted was Mark Spector to go back and beat everyone. Right. And that's essentially what I got. And I thought that was the whole point, like what it was leading up to. The whole point of him being Moon Knight, of Mark Spector and Steven having like DID and being part of this whole, and having to come together to finally like face the enemy in front of them, but also face their own fears and understand that they don't need these powers to move forward. Like it all came to a conclusion at the end where Mark and Steven are more accepting of each other than they are of the Moon Knight superhero persona. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was made very clear, and I thought it was really cool how they did all that and how they got to that point.
Bro, yeah, I have to agree with Eric. I disagree with Nick and Jimmy, because I think this is my favorite episode out of the whole series.
Mhm.
because they actually had. I remember in the beginning, I said, okay, it's a little slow. It doesn't have the action that I want to see. And then throughout the whole series, there were episodes. Okay, there was action here and there, But there's the one where it was fooling out with action. And like Eric said, it was the Gauze, and then we had Mark Spector and Steven, fighting. And then we had Layla, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Layla that gets her powers. Her dad in the comics had powers too. I don't know if y'all knew that, but so it's like her taking over like his history low key that she probably didn't even know about, and the mom probably does, because I feel like the mom's gonna have an important role moving forward if there is a second series. But not only that, like I said, it's action packed. They finally, like I said, I think it was the previous episode where they found that connection. This one they just went a little further into it, but not much. But I like the way they were just each transforming, where first it was Mark, and then it was Steven,
Yep.
Mr. Moon. Like I thought it was all pretty badass. Excuse me, I thought all that was awesome. And not only that, leading up a couple episodes, in the series where I was like, bro, they're hinting at the third personality, bro.
Yeah.
Third personality. And sure enough, even at the end where like Mark was about to die, and like it's like
Okay, that part I did love, because that actually, I mean, I know that they were kind of hinting at that, but that part actually did surprise me. That was probably my favorite moment of
yeah, and I was like, and
Yeah,
it was
for sure.
always
so
when
I realized that.
it was always when one of them was like the first time it happened, it was when Steven was taking control of the body, and Mark's like switch over. He didn't want to, and then Jake, we already know who it is. It's Jake. He's the one who helps them out. And then and at the end as well, he's the one that gets them out of trouble. But this time it was Mark, because Mark obviously couldn't do it on his own. So and then you guys watched it through, right? You guys saw the credits and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
if you didn't,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm moved to spoilers, freaking. So at the end, we finally see the cab driver that we know,
Mm-hmm.
Jake Lockley, and he was pretty, and he's Spanish too. I was like,
All right. Represent, mi gente.
es tu turno a perder hoy. I was like, damn, like trying to lose today. I was like, hey, that's bad.
Did this make him officially the first Hispanic superhero?
Did he beat him?
Latino.
I don't know.
Trying to think of who
He beat up
we
on
had.
Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
Did he? Was he the
Surprise.
first? Was he the first? I'm trying to remember.
They're saying Bad Bunny's gonna be the first Hispanic to have his own like solo film.
Lead a movie, yeah.
But
Yeah.
well, no, because
Huh.
Jake is. I mean, sorry, Mark is supposed to be Jewish, so technically not.
Yeah.
You can be
So, I
Latino
don't know,
and Jewish. Just
Yeah, you could.
putting that out there.
Yeah, you could.
Not
So
saying you
hey,
can't.
all
but-
I'm saying is I think that was my favorite episode for sure.
Oh yeah.
And what I want to say is it answered everything, mostly everything that we were questioning, and the only thing that I could go deep into further is with Jake now.
Yep.
So,
Like I said, I just don't think it worked for me how rushed and how frantic this episode seemed. Like I think it just could have benefited from like 10 more minutes and maybe a little bit more action. I just felt like a little bit of that was a little bit rushed, and I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. That's just the
I do
only thing for
agree
me.
with
Overall,
that.
this is a good episode. Especially the one of him turning back the night sky, or having it go to night, and then having that awesome shot where his cape covered up and it looked like the moon. That was cool. And having him fly, that was dope. I really like that shot where he confronts Harrow and the camera tilts as they're running towards each other, and he delivers that big flying knee, bro.
Yeah.
that was
dope.
bad.
That is dope. And
That
I
was
think the
awesome.
action really benefited. I really liked how they incorporated the switching from Mark to Steven, and then from regular Moon Knight to Mr. Knight, and then that one where he threw it, and then as Mr. Knight, and then it came back as Moon Knight. Like, bro, all of that was really dope. This is actually interesting. I don't know if you guys were aware of this, and I actually just found this out. But the director of the episode, Mohamed Diab, he had taken shots at Wonder Woman 84 because he felt that the depiction of Egypt was wrong and didn't portray Egypt in a positive light. So I actually seen this before, and I saw it coming a little bit, and I was like, that's a little bit weird. Like, I don't know if you guys remember the shot, where she blocks the projectile from Harrow, and she does this. I thought maybe it was meant to be like a Black Panther reference, but it was supposed to be them taking a shot at Wonder Woman, and that's why they had done it, because and then that whole thing with like, oh, you're an Egyptian superhero, right? And she's like, I am. So I felt like that was a little bit of an interesting little nod or an interesting little side thing that they did from it.
I noticed that during it, my wife was actually like, oh, she just did the Wonder Woman thing. I was like, yeah, she did.
Yeah, I thought about
yeah, I thought it was funny because it was cool how she was fighting with the wings and stuff, and she does that with the wings, and then the wings go away, and she's in that position. So yeah, I thought it was really cool. I also mentioned to Lily, I think she fights better with wings than Falcon does.
Yeah, I was probably gonna say, yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah,
but another little thing that was interesting too, and did you guys, because they're in every episode they had like one QR code where you could scan and you can get it. Did you guys find out this one?
Yep. Yeah, it's in the was it in the after credit scene
where Harrow's being carted out?
Yep.
Yeah. So the interesting, when you scan it, it sends you to a digital copy of Moon Knight Annual #1, and that's a story where Khonshu's avatars across history must battle Kang the Conqueror. So obviously this is a setup to Kang and him being the next Thanos level baddie in the MCU. But there was the thing that I found interesting with this is that there was actually a reference to Kang in episode 3. There was a character in the credits who was listed as Young Thug, and that was the guy who takes to the ledge and he kills himself by dropping himself off the ledge because he doesn't want to give up any information on Ahmed or where Harrow is. But if you guys noticed,
before you proceed, how long is it before Sony casts Young Thug as one of their Spider-Man villains?
All right,
probably very soon. But he's wearing a jean jacket, and on the back, it's meant to be the design of Rama Tut's headpiece, and that Rama Tut is actually one of Kang's aliases. So this is further. I know I had kind of made some kind of theories, like maybe Rama Tut was one of the avatars, or maybe he had some kind of influence in everything, because it's obviously Egyptian culture. So that's pretty cool. And this is actually confirmed by the crew members. So Kang, that was a reference to Kang, and that was pretty cool that they were dropping those hints. And maybe we'll see Moon Knight pop up in the future alongside Rama Tut, or maybe he'll make some kind of reference to the gods, or to maybe Khonshu or something. That's going to be really cool.
Yeah. I think it's really important to remember that Kang, especially at the end of Loki, he had this whole, like, I don't know, it was like 10-minute speech, right? Where he talked about what he did and how he traveled to the past and met his other selves. And in the comic books, he actually goes back to Egypt because he knows that if he goes back with his technology, he can rule. And he actually opposes many of the Egyptian gods. So it's possible in the MCU, the Egyptian gods know who he is and like frantically like oppose him.
Yeah.
Right. So he could almost be like another god to them, and someone that may be the reason why they have avatars in the first place. Right.
Well, we already got a hint at Zeus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Zeus. Yeah, we got all kinds of gods coming in.
Did you guys like the reveal of Jake Lockley? Did you guys think it took too long? Like, was that like good where they put it, the pacing, or would you guys have wanted revealed a little bit earlier?
No, I actually kind of liked that part, and I think that kind of helped the episode a lot for me. I think it was placed very well, and I think it is kind of beneficial to place it so late, because I had kind of stopped having the expectations of that popping up. So when it did happen, I was kind of pleasantly surprised. So no, I actually thought that was a good placing for it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What about you, Eric?
Yeah, I thought it made sense to have it at the end, especially because now there's like all kinds of theories, because not everyone knew that Moon Knight had 3 personalities like we did.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people that are just watching the show that have never read the comic books, they knew that something else was going on, and just having this almost like a cliffhanger at the end kind of opens up the possibility to like going back and rewatching some of the episodes, like wait, there was something here. A lot of stuff that we were doing, right, that we were theorizing on this podcast. We're like, wait, maybe when he had his broken nose, when he was in the mental hospital, maybe that was actually Jake. Or obviously the third coffin that was shaking, that was left behind. Like all that, like
Steven was trying to house too, but
yeah. And also I think it was really important that there was when Khonshu made the deal with Mark and Steven, he specifically said, I will release you two from the Moon Knight.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and he said it twice. He said both of you. So I think that was very purposeful in what his deal was, because then he's still able to give the Moon Knight powers to Jake. So I caught that. I was like, oh, he's being very specific in his wording,
Yeah,
because
very
he said it more than
specific.
once.
Yeah. He's like, I just want to make sure you guys heard me.
Yeah.
Yeah, setting future
You
conflict.
know? So I was like,
Yep.
hey man, I caught on that too. I was like, I felt like it was like I agree with these. You know, it's perfect placement.
Do you guys think
Alright.
this is going to lead into a Moon Knight movie, or more of more TV?
It might
I
be
hope
more
it's into the show.
TV.
Yeah.
It might be more TV until we get the West Coast Avengers or something like
Yeah, or the Midnight Suns
Or
or
Midnight-
something
yeah.
with
that.
him.
Or the Midnight Suns.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it would make sense to do a second season where it's almost like Jake and Khonshu are the bad guys, and Mark and Steven are trying to figure out how to stop them. Because I think that would be able to kind of be reminiscent of this season, where you're in your own mind and you're still trying to figure out how to stop all this. And then obviously there will be a threat on the outside looming over them as well. So I think it'd be really cool to see that play out, because we've referenced the 2016 run of Moon Knight. And if you know, by the end of that, the three different personalities within him, they come together and actually get rid of Khonshu.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that was the whole point of that issue from start to finish, of everyone reconciling with one another to be able to stop them. And I think it'd be really cool to see that play out in multiple seasons. I don't know if you can see that play out in a movie the same way, but I think we have yet to see an MCU show like spill out into the movies right now. And I mean, we're
I'm
going to
pretty
see it with
sure
Doctor Strange,
I
but
was about to say that's probably about to change with WandaVision and Doctor Strange.
Most
And
definitely.
a little bit with No Way Home. We saw that with Daredevil.
Yeah,
All
Yeah.
that was
yeah,
just
but-
like a kind of like an Easter egg.
Yeah.
From what I'm getting, Doctor Strange is really going to like
Mm.
lean
Yeah.
into the WandaVision story.
Mm.
yeah, I think a jump from one season of a TV show to a movie is too drastic of a leap
Mm.
Okay.
right now. But if it's set up properly, I can definitely see Moon Knight like syncing up with Blade, syncing up with others that are then well established into a movie, right?
Mm.
So I think that'd be cool.
I'm thinking maybe he's gonna pop up. I'm hoping this is my theory and what I'm speculating, but I hope he's gonna be appearing in the Werewolf by Night Halloween special, just because obviously that's where he first appeared in the comics, and that'd be a cool little callback. And just with him being sent to stop, or someone either off his own free will, or someone or Khonshu saying, "Hey, you need to go stop the Werewolf by Night." I think that would be a cool little thing, and also can definitely somewhere down the line be something that further will get us to Midnight Suns, or that'll be like the first thing, like where they team up, they come together, because like in the comics, and then they start getting other people who have supernatural powers.
Mhm.
So
Well, yeah,
hopefully,
you're
Yeah,
right.
it'd be
I
awesome.
feel like we will get the Midnight Suns sooner than later, because, like you said, we already got a cameo of Daredevil. We just got Moon Knight. Blade is gonna have his own movie soon. So I feel like it might
Black
be
Knight.
sooner than later. Yeah,
Black
Black
Knight.
Knight as well. You know,
But
so Ghost
I'm-
Rider for being hinted at coming back. You know, little things like that, man. So
Nicolas
it's like I feel
Cage
like we
coming
might
back?
get them sooner than later. Who?
Is Nick Cage coming back?
Did you guys see his new movie, the Nick Cage movie or something? Oh,
Hey, that
man.
was a good movie. That was a
it
good
looks
Yeah,
movie.
pretty
He
hilarious.
plays himself. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And they always
No,
make
I-
references to all the movies that came out.
Yeah. If we get Ghost Rider, I kind of want it to be the Robbie Reyes that we got in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mhm.
I think he was pretty dope, and he was set to get his own show on Hulu before like a lot of the Disney Plus merger stuff happened.
Hmm.
So I think it'd be really cool to see his version, because I thought he actually did a really good job as Robbie Reyes.
Yeah, he did.
and
Yeah,
and
he's
he's
a
still
Latino. So also, he
Yep.
was Hispanic too. There you go.
Yep.
He's a,
and he's still a young actor. Like he's still able. If they bring him back in, I think it'd be really cool and a nice way to tie in a lot of what happened in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. back into
Yeah.
the show.
It would be cool to see Johnny, just because obviously he's the original, he's the OG. I would like
Yeah.
to see Danny. If we can just get like all the Ghost Riders, that would be really cool. If we got Danny also.
and
All
we
three.
gotta watch
Yeah.
Doctor Strange. We gotta watch Doctor Strange. You never know, someone make a cameo.
Everyone's gonna make a cameo.
But is that what you guys think then? Like maybe the best we can have as far as the future for this character is like a Midnight Suns, like a show or a movie,
Yeah.
something.
I
Or
think
just Ghost
Super,
Rider?
Yeah, for Moon Knight, right?
Moon Knight. Moon
Oh,
Knight.
for
Yeah.
Moon Knight. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the whole mess that was their social media campaign. I don't know if you guys saw. I think Moon Knight had tweeted, it's the season finale, and then Marvel had tweeted, it's the series finale.
Yeah, they were. Yeah,
and everyone's
Yeah.
like, wait, is it a series or is it a season? What's happening? What are you
Is this a
implying?
mini series or a full-on show?
Right?
Basically, yeah.
Like,
but I
and
think sorry, Mary, keep going.
I was just gonna say, like, it's still up in the air, and I think his contract technically he doesn't have anything else on his contract, right? With
Yeah.
Marvel.
Exactly. So
So-
that's exactly what I was going to bring up. That we can sit here and say, oh, well, we want this, we want that, we think this, but at the end of the day, there's not a deal put in place at this moment. Hopefully, that's just because he didn't want to be tied down to this role for the next 10 years, or maybe he just wanted to go. And I think didn't Kevin Feige say that they're going to start doing contracts on a film by film basis and not have them sign like 6-7 picture deals? I think that was a new thing that he said they were doing going forward. So that makes sense with every.
There's a part of me that thinks because Oscar Isaac is probably one of the bigger of like the newer actors of the past 10 years. If he's negotiating, I'm pretty sure he's gonna want a movie. I'm not saying it's right for the creative process. I'm not saying that's the way it should go.
I don't think he'll want a
That's what I
solo
think
movie,
happened.
but like I said, I think it'll be more like West Coast Avengers or like we said, Midnight Sun kind of.
Just bring him back as Apocalypse.
Oh my god!
I was going to say,
I
I was
gotta
definitely
bring
going
him
to ask
back as.
Oh
who was he better as, Apocalypse or Moon Knight? Because I don't know, as good as he was as Moon
Or
Knight.
did you guys like him as Poe in Star Wars?
He didn't like himself as Poe.
I know he didn't. He's like, nah, I'm not. If I'm staying Marvel, I'm not coming back for Star Wars.
But
Yeah.
hopefully, I'm just hoping we get this character more in the future. Like we
Yes,
said, we speculate. We can say, oh, well, we think this, we think that, and technically there's not a deal put in place, but this is an awesome character. Oscar Isaac knocked out of the park, and he's definitely gotten a lot more fans in the media and a lot putting him on the map as far as, wow, this is an awesome character. Now I want to dive into the comics and get to know all of his adventures and everything he's been through the past 40 plus years.
Yeah.
But overall, what would you rate season 1 out of 10?
I'll give it an 8.
Pretty solid. Pretty solid.
Yeah.
But
I'd say a 9. I think so far it's been my favorite MCU show. So I'd give it a 9. And I'm really excited to see more of him. I know we talked about the contracts and stuff, but I think I read a couple articles where they were saying they like cut 5 to 10 minutes from the finale that dealt with crossovers with other heroes and shows. So I'm hoping that doesn't mean that he's not going to be around, right? So, but yeah, because I think he did so well, I think it was really good writing, really good pacing. I can agree with you guys that the end may have felt rushed. It was very frantic, but it was all the action I wanted packed into one episode. So I kind of enjoyed that. I'm an action movie kind of guy, so I like that stuff. So that's why I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 myself.
Okay, pretty good. What about you, Ruby?
I'm giving it a solid 9 as well. Like nothing less, nothing more.
Yeah.
Because for the same fact, because I said there's some episodes where I was like, okay, I wanted more action, or I wanted a more story input, things like that. But overall, that's why I give it a solid 9, because it still gave me what I was expecting and what I wanted, and probably gave me a little bit more than what I was expecting, to be honest. So that's why I give it a solid 9.
Definitely. I think I'm gonna give it an 8.5. I think Loki edges it out for me barely, not by much in terms of the best MCU Disney Plus show, but not by much. Not by much, and it's a very solid show. I just felt, just because of the stakes that Loki had and all of the stuff that's going to be coming from the future and what that was setting up for, I think it just takes it from that, just barely.
I would say Loki and Falcon. I mean, I don't know why, but
Falcon, really?
it could be just me, but I actually think that show is kind of underrated. It doesn't seem to come up in conversations as much, and it's lived in my head. I don't know why, but the Falcon and the Winter Soldier has lived in my head. It's making me reconsider. I don't know. Maybe that might be my favorite MCU show, but I don't really hear anybody saying that. But,
well, you know why? Because you forget that there's already a Captain America 4 in the works. You know what I'm saying? So people are already expecting him to come.
Yeah.
So I don't think they didn't want to put too much into that show. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I think it also bothers me that I don't know if you guys have heard about Captain America 4, but they're talking about like Sam Wilson having to come to terms with him being Captain America in that movie. And I feel like that was already done on the show.
I was like,
yeah, especially the way the last episode ended.
And I mean,
Yeah.
that was the whole thing about the conflict with Bucky.
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like
Yeah.
That was-
So
that's
so
kind of weird.
That's just like you're going to be repeating the same storyline we already saw done really well on television.
exactly.
and Jimmy
Yeah.
even did the next little turn. Like, nope.
Yeah, but I'll agree with you. I'll agree that Falcon Winter Soldier is definitely a really good show that's not talked about enough, especially when they were tackling head on like issues of racism and injustice, and
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool the way they did it,
I don't-
and just those characters. I think the amount of hate that was given to the new Captain America on the show, and how they like introduced him going possibly like into Thunderbolts or something else. Like I thought it was really cool how they did all that, and the whole like buddy cop drama between Winter Soldier and Falcon worked really well for me.
Like
I thought it
when
was
it
really
was
cool.
on, I didn't consider it my favorite of the MCU shows, but for some reason, it's the one my mind keeps returning to. I keep thinking about those characters and that
Yeah.
storyline.
Well, in all honesty, I feel like this was done on purpose. I feel like these shows are meant to be rewatched, especially like with the them hinting at the Thunderbolts. That was a perfect example where like
Yeah.
you're gonna have to watch Captain America again. You're gonna have to watch the Black Widow movie. These are things.
Yeah, you're gonna have to watch
Marvel's
Hawkeye.
Smart. You're gonna have
Well,
to
during Christmas we'll watch Hawkeye. During Christmas.
Yeah, that's the one thing I didn't like about Hawkeye. It was too seasonal.
Yeah.
But other than that, so I feel like all of these shows are meant for us to go watch and
Yeah.
rewatch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think all
But-
these shows are done very purposefully. Where like right now, Doctor Strange is coming out, for example, right? We know Wanda's in it, so how many people have gone back to watch WandaVision? I know I have, right? Like, and then you have Kevin Feige over here saying, "Oh yeah, we know that at the end of Loki, they killed who he remains, and that caused the Doctor Strange his spell to not work properly in Spider-Man No Way Home." Like he said all this, so now people are like, "Oh man, okay, now I need to go watch Loki." Also, at least watch that
Yeah.
last episode in preparation for Doctor Strange. And you're gonna get a lot of this again, right? Like when new Captain America is gonna come out, people are gonna rewatch this show.
Yeah.
If we do get a Midnight Suns, or even coming into Werewolf by Midnight, like people might rewatch Moon Knight if there's a trailer that shows Moon Knight in it. Like
Yeah.
people are gonna go back and watch Moon Knight. I think it's done very purposely where people are gonna go back and watch some of these shows because these characters are coming out in.
And what
other
about in
projects.
Moon Knight too? Now that you brought that up, when he's in the asylum and one of those doors is where he's in that bathroom. Remember beating up on that Egyptian kind of thing? I don't know who knows. It's probably I
Jackal.
feel like that.
The Jackal
Yeah,
Thing.
I still feel like it's still hinting at a little like why is that memory so important? Like why? I feel like
yeah.
they're hinting at Werewolf by Night a little bit. Who knows? I'm speculation.
Could be.
I'm starting this speculation.
But maybe
Yeah.
maybe that's something that we'll have an episode where we take some time after taking some time, we really evaluate these shows and see what holds up and if any of our perspectives have changed on our rankings of these shows. So maybe that's something we'll do pretty soon.
That's why
But-
we're here too, though.
Yeah.
Here's the
But
podcast.
before we go on to, I just wanted to
Yep.
make sure we give a huge rest in peace because this actor was on the show. He was going to be set up as a villain. He was going to be Midnight Man, but he tragically passed away in January. Gaspard Ulliel is rest in peace to him. It sucked he only had that one episode. I actually thought he was going to be a reoccurring cast member, or like we were going to see him more.
I feel like they had more plans for him until up until his death.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they filmed the show completely, so they were probably
Yeah,
in
that's
the
what I'm
future,
saying. Like
but-
moving forward,
Yeah.
moving forward.
So rest in peace to him. Very talented actor. Make sure you guys check out the show. All 6 episodes are streaming on Disney Plus. Great acting. Stuff that is a lot of paying homage and a lot of inspiration from the comics, which is really cool to see. Just probably the best set design on a Disney Plus show, as far as maybe with the exception of Loki, but everything is really well about the show. Amazing
Probably
performance
the
by
best
Oscar Isaac.
performance on an MCU show.
Yes, Oscar Isaac knocks it out of the park.
Gotta love the
Like,
culture in this
Yeah.
one too. You know what I'm saying? They touched a lot on that.
I think you'd have a hard time debating that Oscar Isaac did not give the best performance out of all of the shows. Like,
No, without a doubt.
Oh, yep.
But make sure you guys check it out. And if we're wrong, let us know in the comments. If we're right, just tell us that we're right and give us all the praise in the world, because that's what we do on Heroes and Mutants. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We will see you guys next time.
signing off.
See it.